Hello, welcome to the Nintendo Bros podcast. This is Pete,
And this is Derek.
and we're here to talk some Nintendo stuff, aren't we, Derek?
As per usual, yes.
As per usual. I mean, you clicked the Nintendo Bros podcast. I hope you know we're talking about Nintendo on this one.
This isn't a cooking podcast.
Well, unless there's a new Cooking Mama or Cooking Mario game. Surprise!
Yeah, using the Mario Oreos, exactly.
Anyways, let's. It's a pretty big time right now because we've just got a massive new Nintendo game, Super Mario Bros. Wonder.
Yes.
If you're listening, you probably heard of this game or you probably played it. So no point in the podcast. I'm just kidding. So, anyways, Derek, we talked a lot about this. We kind of talked about our lead up, what we thought of the trailer, everything. Now we both have it. We both played it. I have actually beaten it.
Okay, I'm not nearly as far as you.
Okay, well, let's talk about. I'll let you talk about it because you mentioned to me earlier that you're actually a little bit disappointed in it. So I'm very curious to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, so I'm only at World 3, just started World 3. I've been playing with my wife only, so we've only been playing together. I haven't played any solo. And it's all so one thing is we haven't been doing repeating the levels, trying to get 100% or finding the secret exits or whatever. We've just been kind of playing each level once and going through.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily disappointed. I think I just went in with all these rave reviews, and I think 92 or 93 on Metacritic, and everyone that's talking about it says it's the best Mario, the top 3 best Marios. I actually don't necessarily disagree with that. I think it probably would be in the top 3 or top 5, but I think it still feels the way I've always felt about the past 7 2D Mario games, where it just feels a little mindless in the sense that it really doesn't expand on the way, not necessarily difficulty, but just entertainment value. It just feels so short-lived and quick, where some games, the little snippets of high intensity, high fun of 1 minute is really good, but these levels, they just feel really short to me, where it's the moment I start to kind of enjoy what's going on, the level's over. The moment I'm kind of getting used to the Wonder Seed effect, it's over. And I find that the levels are so short-lived that I don't really get to experience the wonder at all. It doesn't absorb into me as an enjoyable moment, because I'm I just figured out this enemy's in this level and how you can bounce on it and whatever, and then all of a sudden it's a Wonder Seed. Oh, now those enemies are giant, and then 10 seconds later it's over, and then 5 seconds until the flag. I just feel
granted though, you are only on World 3.
Yeah, and I'm sure the game gets some levels definitely get harder, and there's gonna be some crazy stuff, and some elements will repeat. I feel like I am more acclimated or enjoy more the kind of Donkey Kong Returns or Tropical Freeze level length, where you have quite a meaty level there for the most part every time you're playing those games. Where this, it just feels so short lived. Where, again, I'm playing with my wife who's not a seasoned gamer, so by the time she's kind of figured out the element and we're kind of going through it, we're already 80% done the level. Where it's I would have liked if, we had a bit more of a ramp up in a longer kind of how many crazy ideas can they put in with this element or the 2 elements in that level for the next minute or two, as opposed to just kind of ending, and then I don't see those enemies, I don't see that Wonder Seed kind of thing happen again, maybe for a long time or at all. Again, I'm not criticizing. I really like the levels. I just feel like it's almost like there's so much good idea here, but it's so short-lived. It's kind of how I feel about Cocoon. I know I really liked Cocoon, but I feel like they just didn't dig deep enough with the potential there. I think there's so much potential in this game, and it's so fun that it just feels shallow because there's not enough put into the levels.
Yeah, I mean, that's a funny observation. I don't know if I fully agree with it, because if you think about I believe this is the 11th 2D Mario game, not including Game Boy or Wario Land games, mainline 2D Marios. This is the 11th one. And if you think about all 11, even, Yoshi's Island, Mario World, Mario 3, Mario Bros, Lost Levels, even all the new Super Mario Bros, it is kind of the standard of Mario to have this length of level. So nothing about the length of the level has stood out to me from the norm of what a 2D Mario game
No,
is.
but that's what I'm saying. I think I went in because the reviews were so high and because I knew there's some crazy ideas going on that I just thought it would have a little bit more oomph, and it just felt like it felt like every other 2D Mario game. And I know that that's not a bad thing because 2D Mario sell great and they're fun, and I'm still enjoying it. I just I'm not the biggest fan of 2D Mario games because I find them very samey and very short and very kind of repetitive and very kind of mindless. And I was hoping because of the reviews, because of these zany wonder seeds, that there would be more substance than the previous Marios. But it's just like falling in line.
Well, yeah, I mean, and one of my comments, because I took notes. One of my comments under cons, because I did a pros and a cons, was that I was, after whatever 10 years or so, hoping that the structure of the game would change. Where you're right that it's fallen in line with what Mario's been for 10 games, and it actually feels in a lot of ways really close to the structure of New Super Mario Bros. The world design, the level by level, the flagpole unlock, like it all kind of falls in that same standard, which could be seen as disappointing. Where I was hoping that the new 2D Mario would have its Breath of the Wild moment in a sense, and I had some ideas like perhaps there was no map, and it was just one super long level. Or it had something like more of a Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze design where the levels had a little bit more placement, like you're in Mushroom Kingdom and there's a set piece and things are exploding as you're jumping on logs through, you know what I mean, and you're traveling to more locations that are I guess locations that tell a story, where the locations in a Mario game traditionally are just
Like
like
Tropical Freeze, exactly.
like Tropical Freeze. Yeah. Or it sounds radical to make a 2D Mario game that's a Metroidvania design. Like completely shatter the idea.
I mean, we knew that like that'd be an awesome idea. I think that's a bit of a stretch to pull
but
that.
at some
I
point,
think we knew that wasn't going to be it.
I know, and especially from the trailers. But I guess we absolutely knew that wasn't going to be what the game was. But I think that I would like to see 2D Mario be reinvented that way. And so maybe that's just me, who's like kind of a old gamer who's played them all and played them all repeatedly and played a lot of other games too. But there is that element where I'm like, well, I'm hoping for this complete Breath of the Wild reinvention. But meanwhile, there are those families out there and kids and newcomers to Mario where they do just want that thing that's kind of in line with the little bit of evolution. And maybe it's a little bit more like something like a Minecraft or an Angry Birds, where something like Zelda and Metroid and the 3D Marios have a little more maybe liberty to reinvent themselves. Maybe the 2D Mario series really just is such a staple thing that it's like an Angry Birds or a Minecraft, where it's just that,
I totally agree in the sense that it'd be cool to reinvent or whatever, but I do disagree in this sense that I actually am a believer of 2D Mario is this exact thing. It's the bread and butter. It's clear what it is. It'll always be this for families, for kids, for things like that. It's welcoming. But again, my complaint wasn't that it needed to reinvent the wheel. Not that I think that's an awesome idea, and I think there could be a different IP or Mario, a third branch or something where it kind of goes that direction. Mm-hmm. But with these 2D Mario games, like I actually like what's there. It just doesn't have enough of it. It just feels so.
I would say, 'cause the funny thing is with your complaints, Derek, I would literally just wait till you play the rest of the game, because I felt very similar to you the first few worlds in. I felt a little underwhelmed, but I will say that my opinion changed a lot in the latter half of the game. And especially when I started to 100% levels, and you realize that there's actually more hidden levels than you even realize in the worlds. There really is. And some, now that I've completed the game, it shows you kind of like which blank levels you're missing. And I'm like, oh wow, I've missed a lot of levels. And the worlds, and sometimes those hidden strings of levels are where they get really fun and tricky. Where the base path can be a little basic.
Yeah.
So I would wait till you get that latter half because I think the variety and some of the longer levels and and the really exploring some of those ideas and concepts to a harder degree is where what happens in the latter half.
Okay. I mean, again, like I'm playing with my wife, so it's infrequent, and we're only playing a small chunk at a time. But
Yeah.
yeah, totally.
And I think the thing I always have to like remind myself is that with Mario, we're always looking at it within this kind of bubble of the greatest of all time games, you know. So
Yeah.
at the baseline here, in my pro section, some of my notes are that this game is actually incredibly polished and well made. Like there's not
Again,
really
it's great.
the controls actually it's the best feeling and controlling Mario game, 2D Mario game ever, in my opinion. It feels great. It's hard not to recommend as just a solid time, fast load times, great. The graphics I thought were much better than I expected them to be. A locked 60 frames per second. The colors are amazing. It has some really kind of
Great
cool,
animations.
radiant, yeah, backgrounds, great animations. I will say the graphics, while I think are really good and the best 2D Mario has ever been, I will also say they don't reach the heights of DK Tropical Freeze or Ori Will of the Wisps. So I will say, like, I was kind of hoping Mario would kind of reach for that, like, oh, this is one of the best looking 2D games ever, where it feels a little bit like just a really, really nice jump above New Super Mario Bros. But if you blur your eyes a bit, you can't tell the difference. You really can't.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, you might have not realized this yet, only 3 worlds in, because I think there's about 6, 7 worlds plus like special world. But there's a ton of gameplay variety here, and there's so many ideas that are only explored once, and maybe you could make a whole game out of some of these ideas.
That again, that's the crux of my criticism. I know I've said it a few times, but like they're such good ideas, and some of them are so like some of the stuff we've done so far is so cool. And again, I haven't got to the second half, so I'm sure some of those do repeat or expanded on. But it's like, man, I just got so into this cool idea. Like there's one, like for example, like there's the rain clouds that rain water and you swim up them. I don't know if that appears in other levels, but I'm like, that's a really cool idea. Like, there could be a really hard level with those. And then you get the Wonder Seed and you're like flying upwards, dodging lightning. And I'm like, man, there's so much cool stuff in that one level, but it felt so quick and short.
Wait till you play the rest of the game, because
Yeah,
they
exactly.
do revisit
Exactly.
ideas with more complexity. And I haven't even beaten the game yet. But for example, like early in the game, there's that section with like the purple rolling hippos, right? Those get
Yep.
explored a lot more in harder challenges, especially in the special world. And I haven't even done it yet. And a lot of the challenges, I've really liked a lot of the rhythm-based challenges in the game, where like if you jump at a certain timing, and that's
Oh,
explored a
I
lot.
haven't even seen any. I haven't seen any of them.
Oh, okay. Well, like there's whole thing. They're actually what you're saying is in the game, where like you'll see a little taste of it early, and then later on, it's the same enemy or the same concept is brought back for like a deeper exploration in a harder level.
Okay, awesome. Then that's basically my only
And
criticism.
I think
So.
I think the thing for me is that when there's a game like Breath of the Wild or Metroid Prime or like Mario Galaxy, like there's this visual boom in at you. You're like, whoa, this looks new and refreshing. This game doesn't have that visually. It's a great looking visual game, but it visually doesn't have that like, whoa, this is a brand new visual style and aesthetic and it's beautiful. It's like, okay, this is what I'm used to. But it's the gameplay that I think really is making all the people online say, wow, this is closer to what a Galaxy team would give us than we're used to on a 2D Mario. Where and there's so many fresh ideas and so much polished ideas and different transformations and different just variety at all times.
Yeah.
Which I think is what makes this game special. And the other thing I made a note of is I really like the new power ups. I think more than any Mario game I can even think of, this game has the best, most balanced power ups of any Mario game. No one item feels like the OP item that you should always go for, kind of like the cat suit or the cape, or like what good is a
Yeah.
flower power when you have a cape, or what good is this the Tanuki suit when you have a cat suit? So this one feels really well balanced. Where like I like the bubble, the drill, and the elephant, and
I
they
haven't
all
even seen the
feel.
drill yet.
Oh wow, okay, you've seen very little. They all have their own powers, and they didn't like throw a bunch of like powers that are like wasteful or dumb or like weak. Each of them have these unique multi purposes that are good for different situations, and still like I don't know. There's something like you feel when you have that fire flower, like it's a good power to have. Like the powers feel right. With that said, interestingly, I think they messed up on the coin ecosystem entirely, which was disappointing because I felt like they nailed that so well in Tears of the Kingdom with their economy and their use of like item economy. Where in this Mario, you'll notice you'll eventually have a full 999 purple coins.
Yeah, I'm already almost there.
And you'll get to a Toad who's like, "Oh, I need purple coins to build the bridge. Can you give me 10 of them?" I'm like, 10 of them? I'm like, ask for 500, Toad. Like, make this hard. You're doling these out. And so it actually makes it a little disappointing because when you're in a level and you're looking for secrets and you're like, well, I don't, and you find like an invisible block that lets you get to a higher section and then it's just coins and small purple coins. You're like, well, that's useless to me. You're like, I just need the tens. So it kind of unbalances that economy. And then you end up having to blow all your purple coins on, these standees to 100% of the game, which the standees are kind of a silly addition that I don't care for. So it's like kind of just a weird economy there that keeps me not as interested in the coins.
Yeah, I kind of felt that when I was playing. We played yesterday, and there was a time where we hit a block and it gave us like a growing vine. Mm-hmm. We climbed up to it, went to a black screen to load for 2 or 3 seconds. It loaded a little cloud area where you collected 8 coins and 3 purple coins and dodged an enemy, and then that was it. And you went back to a black loading screen, and I was like in my head on the second loading screen, I'm like, man, I just wasted 25 seconds, half of it being in loading.
I mean, those load screens are so quick. I mean, I
they're
don't know
so
what you're
quick.
talking
I'm not denying that those load screens are
Almost
quick. But
instant.
I was like, oh man, I know, but I agree. But I'm like, that area was so small. Like, why did that even have to be a load screen? And then it was more so, why did I have to load into an area to get purple coins, which are useless, to load back out? Like, it wasn't even the 10 purple coin. It's just these small ones. And I was like, I felt the same way as you. Is they really don't have any interest to me because they are such an abundance that the economy is messed up. I totally agree.
Yeah, it doesn't feel balanced. And at least in Mario Odyssey, like, you were spending those purple coins on cool things like costumes. Where this game, you spend them on, if you're not playing online, there's not much to spend them on other than 1-ups, which you don't need. You can buy some badges once in a while to 100% them, and you can also buy, what else can you, I think that's it, right? So, you can also once in a while buy a Wonder Seed for 100 or 200.
Oh, so. Right, yeah. Which I think sometimes the way you get Wonder Seeds is absolutely ridiculous. Well, it doesn't make any sense.
Are you talking about the Wonder Seed houses that is just a total waste of time?
Well, not just that, but also that when you first start every single world, they give you a Wonder Seed right at the beginning of the world.
I know, in the house. It's such a waste of time. It's actually, that's one of my cons here. Why did they put those in?
Like, why didn't you just make all the requirement for Wonder Seeds one less and not give you that original?
I know, and I was talking to my friend about this. I'm like, why would they do this? Is it supposed to be teaching us that it's a new color? Like, were they worried that people wouldn't understand, and that's why they give you a brand new one?
The only thing I could think of is it's for 5 or 6-year-olds for them to understand that this is what I'm collecting.
Yeah, I think
I'm collecting these. Yeah.
But it sometimes feels silly when there's a section of the map, and you'll see this later, where it's like, oh, you can go left or up on the map, and you go up, and it takes you around, and then it just takes you one of those houses that gives you one, and you're like, well, why is that even there? So there's some stuff, and that's actually one of my cons here, is I find the map, and you'll maybe, as you get further, understand what I'm saying more here, but the world map just seems weird to me, where it's this weird mishmash of, kind of like New Super Mario Bros. With 3D World, and it's like these weird load screens between these these hand-drawn graphics for maps, and then you're in a 3D world, and it's just kind of like the map just doesn't feel cohesive in any way to me. And it's like these weird loaded subsections, and I guess I thought about it, I'm like, Nintendo really doesn't get what made Super Mario World's map so special. Like, they've never ever been able to recreate that. It's just they seem to fail every time between New Super Mario Bros. U and now this one, and 3D World doesn't quite get it. And I think I just don't see the point of it. And I don't see the point of it's not fun to explore. And also I find the 3D to even model the whole world in 3D, I don't even care. Like, make it in pixelated graphics. it has nothing to do for me about like that presentation. It's not fun. I don't know. I don't feel like the map design does anything for me. Like, what do you think?
I don't dislike it as much as you. I don't think it necessarily makes me, jump over the moon. I'm excited about it. I'm a little bit of the different opinion. Like I do like Super Mario World's world, and I know what you're kind of saying, like a cohesive world. I like, just from the games I've played, I like when each world of a game is very distinct in its color design, its theme. So like I like there being a desert world or an ice world or a sky cloud world like that. I actually really like those parts of the game as opposed to it being like more of a natural gradient, like a natural
Yeah.
progression. Like I like very distinct, like, oh, I'm in a different biome.
It's why I love the Tropical Freeze and the Donkey Kong Country series so much. They do that so much,
Yeah.
where every world feels distinct.
But I feel like this game kind of does that too, and I don't understand why you said Super Mario World gets it and these games don't. I thought that you were talking about
It's
Super Mario
not.
World feels like.
I'm not talking about the color or design of the world. I'm strictly talking about the map. Where in Super Mario World, when I explored the map, I feel like I'm actually moving around a space and conquering a space and understand, and like it's fun to unlock that space. Where in almost every single 2D Mario or 3D or Mario map since has either felt like just linear boring, or it feels like it's like stuck in this weird place of being linear and boring and trying to introduce little bits of exploration that feels forced. And that's where the map here seems like a kind of a waste of time to me. Like I don't, it doesn't feel like exploring it is fun or cohesive, or I'm breaking down the world slowly or unlocking hidden secrets from here to here. Like it just doesn't feel like I'm conquering a map. Where I feel like Super Mario World, I did have that feeling.
I personally don't feel like I ever had that feeling with Super Mario World either. I know what you're kind of saying, but to me that game felt very straight linear as well.
Interesting.
I know there's path and the Star Road and secret exits and the switches and split paths, but it's like I think that feels the same as this, where it's like I do a couple levels and all of a sudden I'm in an open area where I have 4 different levels, then it paths 2 ways, then I pick one way and it goes to one level and the other way goes to a hut in a mini game challenge. Like I don't know, I don't necessarily agree with that point.
I just think they could do more with the map and make it more engaging. But that's just me.
I totally agree with that, and I 100% agree with that.
Some of my other notes here, I really like the music. I saw people online saying they're not as happy with the music. I think the music's great, and I think it's got some of the best Nintendo bops for Mario in a long time.
I think it's good. No standout tracks from me yet. You can send me one after if you want me to listen to track. Like I like them, but nothing that I can hum right now to myself or like want to go and listen on YouTube like Tropical Freeze has.
True. I mean, Tropical Freeze is like the 10 out of 10 standard for 2D platformers, in my opinion. Then Will
Yeah,
the Wisps.
agreed.
So that's kind of the watermark. And some of my other notes I have here for pros, I said I think the challenge is really well tuned in this game. Like it feels harder than New Super Mario Bros. At least having beaten it, and 100%ing it feels a little more rewarding. And some of the hidden things are just it's really deviously hidden in a fun way. And it just
Yeah.
feels like that aspect's really well tuned, and it just didn't feel like the first world of the game bored me to tears like other Mario games, where like the first 2 biomes are just so easy.
Yeah, like I will say the difficulty's pretty good. Like there's been a few levels that we've struggled with or had quite a few deaths on. Some of the 4 stars. Like there's one in the first world where you're like on top of those like stampeding bulls and you're just like trying to stay on them. So that's a really fun level. Like I think the difficulty is good. One of my criticisms, and like this just comes with the territory of 2D platformers playing couch co-op, is the screen can get really annoying because if Sarah falls off the screen by a little bit, she instantly turns into one of those ghosts, and I have to go revive her. She comes to me and gets revived.
Yeah.
But like, it's kind of like there's a lot of moments in this game that we've noticed that it's so hard for us to stay on the same spot together. It's like that. I'm trying to think of a good example, like that bull level, or there's one of these times where you're falling or flying
Or
being shot
any
up.
of the badge challenges. you know,
Totally.
yeah,
Like the dolphin kick one, we have to keep a certain
that's
pace,
one
or
of my
the
notes
wiggler
actually.
the wiggler race.
That's one of my notes. So I said it's funny because multiplayer feels right in a way that the other New Super Mario Bros. Games haven't. Like it feels like this is maybe the best multiplayer 2D platformer outside of Rayman Legends.
Yeah, I do really like it,
But at the same
but
time,
yeah.
it still feels like it doesn't work on a good handful of levels. And there's little elements like you can't bubble anymore. Like you used to be able to press a button and just kind of drop out of the game for a moment, which was really handy. Like I've played this game now with four different people, and I was playing with my friend the other day, and he did like get a phone call where we're in one of the levels where you have to find five hidden coins. So he's like, "You find the five hidden coins," and he just ran took the call, and I'm like, "Wow, I have no way for you to drop out. Like I'll just play as player two and keep running off the screen." And luckily he had like 80 lives, but like he lost like 7 lives in that one little area because he kept falling away, and it's just kind of a I don't know. The multiplayer still doesn't feel right to me, and I tried the online as well, and that is very odd as well. I thought.
Yeah, like I haven't tried the online yet, but I totally agree with the multiplayer. Like again, I don't want them to pull out the screen because I like the how zoomed in it is or whatever, like that zoom distance that they have. But if they had more, if they were able to pull it out a bit when that character went off the screen, or kind of do like the Smash Bros. Kind of thing where you
I
can show
don't.
like a bubble marker. I don't know if it'll work. I agree, but like again, when I'm playing with my wife, who's a very different skill level than me, like I've always been playing as first player, which the camera follows me. But at the end of the last session, I felt so bad because she kept falling off the screen because she's figuring out the controls of these kind of quick sections. That I'm like, what we really should do is have her be the first player, so the camera will always follow her, and I'm just gonna stay around her area.
The who the camera follows will switch like depending on who beats the level first, I think, or something. It's weird, or who dies and
I
comes back.
I hate like even like when you're going through dialogue boxes, why like the fact that it switches between player one and player two annoys both of us.
Oh yeah, that's
'Cause
so annoying. I was
it's
weird.
like, why are they doing that? Like, yeah, I totally. So I was hoping that the camera would always follow me, but I guess you're saying it doesn't always, which is annoying.
If you're playing with a long session, it'll switch the other person. But I think if you're like I don't know what switches it. We couldn't figure out how to switch it back. It was very weird, yeah. And I think that it'll always be a problem with these games where they just don't really some levels just that are based around speed or serious platforming. It'll if you really want hardcore platforming, it's really challenging to do that with two people at the same time.
Totally.
And I think the only solution is to maybe have multiple players control completely differently, like completely, where one can like almost fly around, or you have it where it's like we're on separate consoles and our screen and I can track away from you. I don't think they'll
But
ever.
even that fully doesn't work.
Well, it won't. But yeah, because if I land on a platform that falls, then the person behind me won't be able to do it. And I also don't think they'll do the camera zooming because I think that requires a lot of like where the camera is very programmed for what's hidden and what's not.
Yes, totally.
Frame rate considerations. So I just don't think they can easily like zoom the camera out and reveal like off off the screen.
No, I know that's not feasible. It's just it's not a big frustration. It's more just like I can tell that it's one, it's slowing my pace down, which is fine. I don't mind, I'm patient, but it's also just like I can just tell when I just like want to, let's say, like even every flagpole, for example, like the flagpoles you need to like jump off two enemies or like run and jump off a wall and then get the flagpole. It's like I can't, like we're either both standing beside each other and going 3, 2, 1, go to try to both do it together, or I'm just doing it and she's just becoming a ghost at the end.
Well, yeah,
it's like there's no.
Yeah, and I played with my friend who's I was actually trying to get him on this podcast because he's such a hardcore Mario fan. But he and I were playing together, and we even experienced like challenges and levels where it was like, what the heck happened on that level? I mean, it's like we both were killing each other, and the camera was changing, and one of us would ghost and hit him and turn into a ghost, and hit the other one and turn into a ghost, and I'm like that. It just kind of turns into a mess.
Yeah.
But that's how kind of multiplayer 2D Mario has always been, and that's. I mean, I'm actually of the opinion, and I don't think they'll do this, but I'd love them to go to a single player Mario where like. It just got into Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze levels of crazy.
Yeah.
But Yeah, the last note I was gonna have here is about the badges system they added, and I'm 50-50 on it because on one hand, I really like adding new abilities like the dolphin kick and the vine whip and like things that change it up for certain
Vine
levels.
whip. I haven't got that one yet.
Okay, well yeah, there's a few that are really
That's
cool.
okay. Yeah.
Most of them are a little dumb, but it's this weird thing where I use the parachute I use it the entire game, and everyone I've talked to uses the parachute the entire game.
Oh, we use the wall jump.
Oh, okay. Well, the parachute is definitely the one most people are using most of the game because it gives you like such an advantage. It basically gives, yeah, it's like giving you a parachute when you fall, like a glide.
Mm-hmm.
But it also feels like I'm kind of cheating myself because some of the challenges I'm like, wow, that would have been a lot harder without that parachute. And it's just a kind of a weird feeling where I actually wish there was a completion check mark for not using a badge on a level.
That'd be cool.
I really don't know why they didn't do that because it would motivate people to do that, and it just feels like really cheap. Some of them, like it really, some of them give you extra lives. Some of them start you off with a mushroom. Some of them like let you hit the lava once. They give you higher jumps. Like they just feel like they're just a cheat mode that has no penalty.
So we've never used the passive badges. We've only been using the active ones. I don't know if are you allowed equipping one each?
No, it's one per system.
Yeah, that's so that there's so now that we're talking about the badge system. There's two issues I have. Is one, um, I mean personally, I think some of those badges should just be part of Mario's moveset. Like there's some cool stuff of just if you hold down, you get that higher jump. Like that'd be a cool one. Just why don't you just make that a move and just build the levels around having that move as well? Like
Well,
I'm not sure that would.
the whole game's designed to not have it. I think it's they turn it on to give it an advantage to people.
I know what I'm saying. Just build a game without that. Like where that's just part of it. Like I'm just saying we could always just make Mario have more moves. You know, like Mario has a really cool move set in Mario Odyssey where a lot of things are possible. Uh,
Yeah,
it,
I personally don't see what they're going for here. You're right. It's like okay for the parachute cap, great move. That could be a Mario staple move, but is the game designed for that or not?
no,
And
yeah, exactly.
so it's like but I really enjoyed the badge challenge levels where the levels are designed to specifically
I
use
like
that badge.
so I like those two. Those are really fun. Anyways, like I'm not saying I want all these moves built in. It's just I felt like you get one, and like there's a part of me that's like one with you where I'd rather just have none and make the game the way it's supposed to be. But also I grab one and I have a little bit of that FOMO where it's like, oh, I put the cap on this time. It's like, man, I really wish I had the wall jump still, or like either give me none or I don't know. I have that bit of like
Well,
that fear of
it does.
picking the
I
wrong
will say the
choice.
game will never make you have one
I know for sure.
unless it's a badge challenge. But what I think they could have done is like there's one level where it's like you can choose your badge, but it's pretty heavy handed that you should use the dolphin kick. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, well, why don't they just have the level start off where they either turn you into a dolphin Mario or give you a power up that lets you swim that way? So it's like you don't have to have this kind of clunky. Is it a cheat system? Is it not? Kind of thing going on the side that feels like everyone's kind of cheating the game a bit.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like this kind of organic thing where it's like, oh, how did you choose to beat the level? Oh, you chose that badge, so you did it differently, and we all have options of how to do it. It doesn't have that like Zelda Breath of the Wild thing, where it's
So
like,
that's also would be cool is if some of those badges let you take different paths to the end. That would be cool. But what I'll say is my biggest problem with it, and I don't know why they didn't think of this. That should almost be patched in. Is why co-op players have to have the same badge. I think that's so stupid because I would be someone that either would like to have no badge or I'd like to try different ones. But again, playing with my wife, who's learning how to play these kind of games, she wants to stick with the one she's already practiced on and gets used to, and she wants to keep playing with that one, which is fine. I'm happy to do that. But it's like, why do?
For that one, Derek, is literally just like how they programmed it, and they want to keep the menu UI simple, and they just probably were like, how do we make it so everyone chooses their badge and switches every round?
Yeah,
They're like,
why don't they make it the same way you pick your character? Put all the badges on, and everyone has a one player, two player icon. You just click it. Like it's so.
you're right.
So easy.
You're right. I agree. I mean, I guess for me, I played most of the game single player, and I was just kind of mum about the badges altogether. I just didn't. I just played the game as if the parachute was the natural move set.
Like I think they're cool. Like sometimes we just change it for fun because I think it is fun to do. But again, I just wish we could have different ones. That's my biggest gripe about the badges. I'm okay with, I do see what you're saying, and I totally agree. And I think there should also be an achievement for doing it without a badge. But again, my biggest thing is it's just not. It doesn't make it accessible for every player of different level.
True. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because when we talked about this game last time, I was more of the opinion of like, oh, it doesn't look that great. It looks like New Super Mario Bros. Again. And I guess I came in with lower expectations, and it actually surpassed my expectations. I found myself really enjoying it. I had a lot of I've smiled and laughed playing it. I played multiple player with other friends. It's kind of like if a friend comes over, it's such a natural game to put on to play with a newcomer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it feels like there's Smash Bros. And Mario Kart can only go so far, So it's nice to have that game now. It's like it's almost like that other pillar of multiplayer, easy, casual multiplayer for Nintendo. So I'm glad it's here.
I'm sure if I played with my friends who, I just played games more, it'd be fun and just relaxing and chill and whatnot. I find, again, playing with someone who's newer to games, there's a part of a guilt for me when, I go rush forward and get the flag and she falls behind or she can't keep up or whatever. And after, 40 minutes, again, because the levels can either be super easy or incredibly frustrating hard where she keeps falling off the screen, after 40 minutes, she's like, "Let's switch to Overcooked."
Because I would really approach Mario Wonder, and I would say this to anyone the same way I would approach any 2D Mario game, is that it really is a single player game, and if you're playing with 2, 3, or 4 players, there's going to be some sort of messy chaos. But I think in the end of the day, they'd rather allow you to do it and have a messy, chaotic time, which some people find fun. Some people laugh about those experiences. Some people don't. So it depends, right? Like, but I think it really is a single player game, and I think if you really want to enjoy the game without that feeling, is I would say maybe play a big chunk of it by yourself.
Yeah, I think after we beat it, I'll probably go back and do the 100% on my own because I don't know if she's interested in that.
There are levels, Derek, I'm telling you, especially some of the special levels where they are just not made for 2 people at all. I spent 10 lives with a friend the other day playing a special level, and I said, this is never going to work. And then when I did it by myself, it still took me 20 tries. It's a hard one. Like, there's some real challenge in the game.
Yeah, and I'm excited for that. I think she'd be okay if she stopped playing that. But for now, we're going to go through and probably beat the main game, and then...
Yeah. Well, I've beaten it. I'm in 100% it. And so for me, I think I'd stick it on a strong 8.5. I said here, Mario and Nintendo, they're always in a class of their own, and it's another extremely polished, well-designed variety of great gameplay ideas. But I did say as a con, the presentation and the structure stay a little on the safe side, so it's less surprising and refreshing than it could have been given the 10-year gap. But still a wonderful game and the best 2D Mario since Yoshi's Island on Super Nintendo.
Are you reading a script right now?
Yeah, I wrote it out. I wrote out my notes on the game. Like I wrote notes as I was playing.
I know.
It's like written like a review, eh?
It's like exactly.
This is just how I talk, Derek.
It's like so formal. It's like not casual at all. Yeah, like I would I'd give it like right now like it's kind of shocking. I'd give it a high 7, maybe an 8. I think again my biggest thing is one playing co-op just changes that feeling, and I think once I go back and play it on my own, I'll have a different feeling. And also as you said. I've kind of just scratched the surface as far as what's there, and we've kind of only done the straightforward path, which is you only see so much in that way. So I think it'll probably end up being around an 8.5 the way you rated it. I just think I have to kind of get more and sink my teeth into it. I haven't played that much, so. Yeah,
and I think for me when I first started playing, you have this feeling of like this is the new Nintendo 2D Mario, so you almost have this like. When Nintendo releases a new Metroid or a Zelda or something, there's like this, ooh, this is amazing thing. Where with 2D Mario, it just doesn't have that. It's just so I think when I kind of let that go and said this isn't going to be blowing me away at every second like Mario Galaxy, I just was kind of like, well, let me just play it because I actually am still compelled to play it because it's controls well, it's addictive. I want to beat it, and I just still found myself having fun and getting to the end, even though I wasn't on that like. Metroid Prime, like, oh, this is so new and awesome and refreshing feeling. It was a little more like, oh, it's what I know, so I think when you gotta get deep and you sink into that, you'll enjoy it more.
Okay, sounds good.
Anyways, moving on. I saw a topic today online, and it said, "What are the biggest Nintendo oh my god announcements in their history?" And there's lots of the thread had lots of different like ideas and things. I
Yeah, there's
remember
lots.
all of them. I remember because I'm older.
It's such a weird humble brag.
Well, yeah, it's
I
like I'm
remember
old.
all of them. Every big moment I
Well,
was there. I
it's
remember.
interesting because some people just won't remember certain things, right?
Yeah, just funny.
But I asked you to both of us to come up with our three biggest announcements from Nintendo ever, like the biggest OMG announcements. So I chose three, and I think you chose three, Derek.
Yeah,
Yeah, did you only choose two?
I have a few, but some of them are also like mixed, mashed. Some are like multiple pushed together. Like we'll talk about it.
Okay, well, let's stick with three. Let's stick with just for the sake of
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, not
I have
going-
three. I have
going
three.
a super long podcast here. Okay, well, tell me your first one, Derek, in no particular order.
So my first one that I think is just from my personal memory of what was the most hype to me and just like, oh my god, and I think it was big on, everywhere, was the Smash Bros. Brawl announcement. Just because, one, they showed a bunch of newcomers right off the bat. They showed the upgraded textures. We had that snake thing at the end, and Melee, like Smash Bros. 64 was big, but Melee really took it to that next level of like everyone loved Melee.
Yeah.
And then when Brawl was shown off, like the hype was maxed out. Like, oh my god, we're having another one. There's more characters coming. Like, I think it just kind of brought it to that Smash Bros. Really, it went from being like GameCube didn't sell well, it wasn't a huge thing, but like the Wii was huge. It wasn't at that time, obviously, but
Well, the hype the hype was huge.
the hype was huge, and I think that was the first Smash Bros. Where it kind of just exploded of everyone's, as you say, frothing at the mouth to get more information. We had
And they
the
had the
Smash
dojo,
Brawl
remember
dojo,
yeah.
the dojo.
Sonic. It's epic.
Sonic, exactly. But it's like that first announcement was just so awesome.
I actually rewatched the trailer today, and just I remember when they announced they had Snake in it. That was so cool. Like that was just so cool coming off of the generation with PS2 where we had this series that had completely not been on a Nintendo system for a while at least.
Yeah,
I agree.
And
it was awesome.
It was cool that was the first third party character added to Smash as like a character you would never ever think was gonna be it.
Totally.
Yeah, just that was because again I was a big Smash Bros. Player at that time. The Wii was like my first system that I remember I kind of pushed the Wii into this one. I know we'll talk about Wii maybe later, but like the Wii was the first system that I bought myself, the first console that I bought myself. So that plus Smash Bros. Like I just had an awesome time. I remember having my friends over in the basement the first day Smash came out, and I played like 12 hours that day, and people like would show up and then leave. So yeah, Smash Bros. Brawl for me, and I think for a lot of people, that announcement was just awesome.
Yeah, I remember the day Brawl came out, and just I think were we playing that day? I think we were both home, right?
Yeah, I think So I was playing in the basement, and I had friends, but I think you might have come down and play. I don't know if you were home.
I thought I was, but anyways, I remember how big Brawl was. It was awesome. It was a big deal, and I just remember thinking, the Wii just for Brawl was worth it. Like there was no other like. I might not think that in retrospect, but at the time I was like, there's so much content in this game. It's got single player. It's got this huge multiplayer. It's got online. It's got so many characters. I'm like, how? Like this system's only $250. I'm like, it's totally worth it. Like, yeah, it was awesome. It's huge.
Yeah. So that's mine.
One of my I think this is the biggest announcement. One of the biggest announcements Nintendo's ever made. It was right before the GameCube came out in September 2001. When they just basically came out and dropped the mic and said Resident Evil is going to be completely exclusive to our system now. And I don't know. I mean, for me, I wasn't a massive Resident Evil fan because I had an N64, so I could only really play Resident Evil 2. And I remember my friend had number 3, and I think Andrew had number 3, and I watched him play it. But it was this kind of really cool, mega big series that was for the competition. It was like the big PlayStation exclusive. And then out of nowhere, they're like, well, yeah, we're actually going to release Resident Evil 1 Remake, which at the time they showed it, looked incredible. Still does. It still holds up.
Yeah,
But
it
back
still
in
holds
2001,
up, exactly.
it was like, how is this real? And then they're like, and it's coming out in 6 months in April. Resident Evil Zero is coming now. It was an N64 game. Now we're going to make it a GameCube game. And Resident Evil 4 is going to come exclusively to GameCube, which we know didn't end up an exclusive forever. But those three Resident Evil games for GameCube have now kind of represented that system through the eons of time, right? Where it's like we had these three epic Resident Evil games that are actually timeless. I know Resident Evil Zero is not as good, but it's still talked about. And 4 and Resident Evil Remake 1 are epic classics. And it was just this kind
They're still like the two that are most argued about what's the best Resident Evil game. It's those two.
I would say it's those two, or the 2 remake are all up there for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it was just this really crazy, like out of nowhere, 2 months before the GameCube, they're like, yeah, we're gonna have this awesome looking exclusive Resident Evil game. And it was just like such a steal from the PlayStation fan. Like I don't think I've ever seen a bigger like betrayal ton. You know what I mean? Other than maybe Final Fantasy going to PlayStation, but that was kind of pre-internet. You know, it was way back when.
Mm-hmm.
But this was the only time I really. It's like announcing Halo is going to come to PlayStation. You know what I mean? Like it felt that grandiose of a series to be cross-platform or just Switch platform. So that's my OMG announcement. I mean, imagine they announced that today. Imagine like Resident Evil 9 and 10 are going to be exclusive to Switch 2. It'd be ground shaking, right?
Yeah, yeah. That's a good one. I didn't. That's like one that didn't even cross my radar. That's a great answer.
Yeah.
So my next one, I went back and forth. It's going to be a Zelda one. I couldn't decide because like again, Smash Bros. Brawl, the other game that was big. The Wii again was a big system for me, especially around that launch window. You know, Twilight Princess, that game. That's still one of those announcements that was huge. I'm not going to pick that one. You might have picked that one later. We'll find out. I'm going to pick Zelda. Surprising, I don't know if it's a recency bias, but Tears of the Kingdom. One of the last trailers they showed, the one that has like that saxophone play at the end, that trailer got me so hyped. Like again, we talked about this podcast. You know, I like Breath of the Wild. Wasn't my favorite Zelda game. Tears of the Kingdom, I was excited for, but wasn't 100% excited for. That trailer got me so freaking pumped about this game, and. You know, I'm sure it got so many people pumped. I know people have talked about that trailer a lot. It's like, to me, it's the best Zelda trailer ever.
If we did a top 5 or top 10 gaming trailers ever, I wouldn't hesitate to put that trailer on the list.
Agreed. Like, it was amazing. And again, it kind of reinvigorated me being like, oh, damn. Like, forget it being the sequel to Breath of the Wild, the game that I really liked that game. But again, I was like, oh, damn, like a new Zelda. This is so freaking hype. All the stuff that they showed off in that trailer was like, that's exactly what I want. And that was like when I became
fully
like,
delivered.
You know,
delivered on
exactly.
Remember when we were like, how are you gonna ride a rock monster with lasers on it? How's that gonna work? And it like works seamlessly and perfectly and smoothly. It's like,
so
well, it works exactly. Yeah. And I was like, there's no way there'll be like raids on bases. That's too complex with NPCs, like full on raids with different units, and like they just like have all this stuff that it was awesome. Yeah, that was a wicked trailer.
That trailer just like got me max hype thrusters, and like I don't know when that came out. I think it was like maybe 3 months before the game launched.
Oh, it was like 1 month. No, it's like way less.
Oh, okay. It was. I knew it was sooner. I knew it was close. I just didn't want to underguess. But that whole from then on all the way to like again, I went to the midnight release. Like I could not wait. I was like counting down the days to play that game, which is really rare for me. The last time that happened was actually for Breath of the Wild with when the Switch launched. I remember counting down that day of getting both those games, that game in the console. But yeah, Tears of the Kingdom, just awesome trailer, got me super hyped. Again, I was debating between that and Twilight Princess, but yeah, I went with Tears of the Kingdom.
Well, I mean, Zelda's had a lot of epic trailers over the time. Even Ocarina of Time had a really epic E3 96 trailer that I remember, or was it 97? And the original the Wind Waker trailer for Zelda, like, kind of was a big shocking thing. And they basically took a mature visual. They showed this, kind of older Link, what everybody wanted. And then they went and made him a cartoon, and people lost their minds. So Zelda's just had kind of a funny history with trailers. But to your point about Tears of the Kingdom, and I think we've talked about this because we had a whole episode where we compared the Breath of the Wild versus Tears of the Kingdom trailer. I could even though Tears of the Kingdom, in my opinion, is a better game, probably a better trailer. Actually, I think it's a much better game than Breath of the Wild. But that trailer with Breath of the Wild, to me, for one, had better music. That still gives me the trembles when I hear it.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about the trailer for E3. I was talking about the trailer at the January unveiling of Switch games for the March 3rd announcement. Like that final trailer for Breath of the Wild.
Oh, the final one, yeah, not the one where like he starts in the like the not the initial trailer.
No, not the unveiling trailer. The
like kind of like exactly what I'm talking about with Tears of the Kingdom. Like
they showed 3 trailers before lead up. They showed one of the Game Awards, and they showed another one on that January unveiling. That January unveiling, where they had the date at the end, everyone cheered. That trailer in January, I think, is one of the best trailers ever because it also represented kind of the feeling that Nintendo was back. And Nintendo was stepping into Nintendo had never made an open world game. They had never made a game that looked throbbing to the like they had for so many years they couldn't make a game that could compete with GTA or Assassin's Creed or for that audience. And they were finally saying, look at this massive, awesome new take to open world game. So that to me would have been a big trailer. But no, actually, I have no Zelda on my oh my god announcement list here. Yeah,
interesting.
My next one is definitely biased. It's actually when Metroid Dread got announced. And for me, this was a huge deal because Metroid Dread had been rumored for like 17 years before it. They had it like in a Nintendo Power magazine in like 2006 or 5 as a DS game. And it became this kind of one of those games of like vaporware that's never coming out. You know what I mean? It's like, almost like Final Fantasy VII Remake was when they showed the PlayStation 3 demo of it.
Yeah.
It was like these things, or Shenmue 3, the games that are never going to happen, or Half-Life 3. It's like a Half-Life 3. Like, it's Metroid Dread's never, ever going to happen. And then for them to just at E3 basically announce that it's Metroid 5, 2D, bringing back the original creator, has great new ideas, but also a lot of the sensibilities that we wanted back from Metroid that they took away in Other M and Federation Force and yada yada. So it was like they brought back the purity of the 2D Metroid. I know you weren't a huge fan of it, but it ended up coming out. I loved it.
I wasn't a big fan of the game in the end, but I gotta say, like, I was excited as you were because the last one that came out really was, besides for Samus Returns, was Fusion, right? Like the real fourth entry was Fusion, which was like what 15 years earlier.
2002. So like 20 years later. And just the fact that they announced it and they're like, and it's coming out in 4 months, and it was just such a mic drop of an E3 when Microsoft was basically saying, here's our games that are come out in 3 years from now. Here's a CG trailer of a game that's going to come out in 3 years, and Nintendo can just be like, here's what everyone wants, something that you've heard about 17 years ago, and it's coming out in 4 months. And I know you didn't like it. I know Mike didn't like it. If he's listening, Mike, you have your terrible opinion on Metroid, but the game did win Game of the Year at Recent Era. It has an 88 on Metacritic. It's a well-loved, it's a beloved game.
Hold on. I didn't dislike the game. Okay, I liked the game. I gave it like an 8 or something. I just don't think it was the best game of the year, and I don't think it was necessarily my favorite Metroid or 2D Metroid. I did like the game. To me, it's like the Mario Wonder. It's a really solid game with a lot of good things going for it, for sure. But does it give me that over that edge of like, this is phenomenal? No.
Well, I will say, yes, I hear you, but it is beloved to a lot of people. And I think just the fact that it can be considered in the Metroid echelon of 2D games, like this classic series, like almost a perfect series, is such a credibility to it. You know what I mean?
Agreed. Yeah, totally.
And for me personally, like, I love Metroid Dread, and it's easily one of my top 10 Switch games, and I have memories from that game and the feeling and the boss beating that I will never forget in my gaming history. So,
that's a pretty good one.
Yeah. So what's your third one, Derek?
I just had it. I totally forgot. You do yours, but I literally just thought of it. Like,
so my third biggest Nintendo oh my god announcement, we'll say, not necessarily biggest, oh my god, was when they showed off the Wii remote at TGS.
I considered this one.
2005, they showed it off. And the Wii name was also one people thought was crazy because they showed the name later. At this time, I believe it was only known as the Nintendo Revolution. And it was such a cool system because Iwata had already shown off the console a year before, and had said, or the prior E3, I believe, and had already said that it's going to come with DVD or GameCube ability, and it's going to come with a new Metroid Prime, a new Smash Bros, and it's going to come with the ability to download games from N64, Super Nintendo, and NES, which at the time was a big deal. Like I paid money to buy N64 games like Master Quest on GameCube. Like so to have all of them available was cool. But anyways, beside the point, when they showed the remote, it just blew people's minds with how the hell is this thing going to work? And there was jokes, and no one understood it. But it was a complete paradigm shift in how we think about gaming, and
or how we conceptualize controllers ever.
Totally.
Even still to it's still the only one. Like even after it, every system, Nintendo or otherwise, has gone back to what it's always been.
The Joy-Con arguably is a somewhat of a throw to the Wii remote.
I'll give it that. Sure, a single Joy-Con. I just mean just the idea of like, oh man, like these things are detached, and like the way it's a pointer, and the way where the D-pad was, and like it just totally broke the brain of how a controller could be a controller.
Yeah. And everybody in the world at that point noticed. You know what I mean? Everyone in the gaming world was like, what are they doing? And I think that throughout time, like, you know, if we look back on the gaming industry, I'm not kidding, 200 years from now, that remote and that paradigm shift and that bold, brazen idea of Iwata will be remembered as a historical moment, like almost like we remember the earliest films that were made in 1900. Mm-hmm. We will remember that moment that they decided to do that with such a unique, out of the box idea, and to basically not improve the power of the system. So yeah, that's my third. Oh my god announcement.
Yeah, that's a great one. I consider doing the Wii too, because the Wii is, again, personally it's huge, but I just know it sold like crazy. It was such a revolution, such a twist in ideas. But I didn't pick that. So I also consider doing, Smash Bros. Ultimate. Everyone's Here, because that was also pretty big and pretty hype.
Banjo would be it was a runner up.
I actually thought about Banjo too, or even
Cloud.
Even though it wasn't personally big to me, Cloud or
Bayonetta.
Who's the last guy? Sora. Even Sora. Some people would say was big.
Yeah, or Steve.
For me, it's actually Geno being announced for Switch 2, which I know is going to happen. No, but so my number 3 is again, recency bias. I don't know if it has the same oh my god factor as some of these other big ones, but for the people that were hoping for this ever to happen,
Mario RPG. Are you serious?
Yeah, Mario RPG.
I thought about it. Like, it's too new. Like, it's too fresh.
It's so, I know, it's so new. It's so fresh. And again, a lot of people weren't. It doesn't have that same huge appeal, let's say, as like the Wii of like, oh my god, or Zelda. But for this to happen, like, no one thought this was possible, right? It's locked up in Square Enix / Nintendo weird rights stuff. Some of the music rights have weird stuff going on. A lot of the stuff wouldn't translate well into the future, and they had to like change a lot of the language and the names of characters, and just, everyone is always talking about Geno or Mallow or putting Geno in Smash Bros, and it's like, never we're gonna get a sequel to this game. Never we're gonna get a remake of this game, and everyone's just waiting or hoping, and like there's been a few times where there's been rumors that there was going to be a remake, and it just never happened. And then finally, it was a rumor that this is going to happen, and it did. And I was like, oh my god, I can't believe it! I got a chance to have this game on my Switch and play it, and looks amazing. All the previews I've read about it said it's awesome, and I mean, like, maybe I'm just living in a pipe dream. I think if it sells well and reviews well, which I'm betting it's going to review really well, and I think it's going to sell pretty well, I'm betting that this might reinvigorate to make a sequel to this game.
I agree. And honestly, if I did my top 10 list of oh my god Nintendo announcements, this would have to be on it. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I do think like Nintendo, they tried to make other Mario RPGs. They've tried about a dozen times between Paper Mario, even Thousand Year Door and 64 which are decent, don't even come close to Mario RPG. in my opinion, as far as a
So
good RPG that has like a balanced, good story, great music. Like it's so good. I honestly don't think that a sequel could ever capture what this game captures.
I, I mean, I don't know. Like again, it's kind of funny that one direct where it showed Mario RPG, and I know we already knew about it, but they also showed Paper Mario Thousand Year Door remake. Um, to me, like my dream scenario for Mario RPG games would be if they made a Super Mario RPG 2 and a Paper Mario 3. And like I know they're Super Paper Mario or whatever, I just mean like continuing that same style of combat and whatever. Like I feel like they just totally Mario and Luigi, I know people love that or whatever, but I didn't like that series as much, and they totally destroyed Paper Mario when in the direction I don't like. I
Yeah.
just to me there's a hope that it's like, oh man, if those two games review well and sell well, maybe Nintendo will go, oh, like that's what people wanted, that's what we were missing. Let's make more of these.
I think
And
Paper Mario. I agree. I think a future Paper Mario should definitely go back to the Thousand Year Door battle system and expand on it. But I really don't feel like Mario RPG in that game. It feels like such a lightning in a bottle time and place that if you tried to recreate it now, I just don't know if the magic or the
I
intuition of like
agree.
a nine. Because back in the '90s, there was just this boldness of like, hey, we can kind of do whatever we want. It's an RPG with Mario, and I think now would be. I don't. I want to call like Mario washed down, where it's like full of kind of like tutorialization and bad text and tropey Mario stuff. And it would be too easy. It would have balance issues. I just don't. I just think they captured lightning in a bottle with this game. And actually, it's funny you mentioned it because the next thing I was gonna talk about was actually our hype levels for Mario RPG because all the previews have been hitting. Have you looked into any of those, Derek?
I haven't watched any videos of stuff, but I read about it, some of the new features and changes, and then what people that have played it, how they felt about it. And to me, it looks all glowing for the most part. Looks like it has quite good graphics and more or less and steady frame rate. Some of the new features people say work well. It's balanced well. There's some extra additional stuff that people really like.
Yeah,
So
they have extra battle stuff, from what I've heard, they've even balanced the battles properly. So even though they give extra powers and abilities, like they've made harder battles.
yeah, so I'm super excited.
I'm super
I think
excited
I
too.
think what do you predict the score will be?
Well, to be honest, just from the recent previews, I was like, oh my god, this is going to be in the 90s.
That's what I think. It's been 90-91.
Yeah, I agree with you, or 89 at the lowest. And I did watch a few videos, and there's just something about this game. I can't describe it. It's like a magical game. Like, and I watched the graphics, I will say, are incredible. Like, the redone graphics are so good. And when you watch some of the direct feed at 60 frames a second with like new animations and like if the toad's jumping on the bed's bouncing, like the little touches make it look so good.
Yeah,
It looks wonderful, and I can see it scoring really, really high. But I've got to say, the new music with the new graphics, the magic of the original game is still there. And there's just
totally.
something
That's yeah.
about I don't know. There's something about those themes in that world, and maybe my nostalgia is part of it. But like when I was a kid, the game seemed huge to me, like impossibly huge.
Agreed.
It was like Mario only existed in one little portion of the map, and all of a sudden we were like, "Whoa, we're exploring like the fourth dimension of Mario's actual world, of actual Toadstool Kingdom." Like,
I love that game because you like you do a few little areas, then you're like, oh my god, there's another area and another area, and then you go to like the cloud world, and like there's another area, and then you go inside this like there's
it's
the game just keeps
huge,
going,
and the
yeah.
towns are so well designed and fun and well written, and
And yeah, every character has funny dialogue in the towns. Like
I
it's good.
think for a long time in my like brain, Mario RPG was like what Mario World was. Do you know what I mean? Like this was what Mario World was, and all the other games were based off of that grounding. You know, like this was the actual world of Mario, and like this is the actual Toad's or Peach's actual castle, and so it just kind of became this game that was like the actual. I don't know. It was just so cool, and I don't know if any other game will ever really do that. Maybe an open world F-Zero game, but like taking a series into that dimension, and I'm not talking about 3D dimension, but just like taking a 2D platformer that we all have grown up with and loved, and basically just like building a world around it and having all the movesets be related to Mario and having the RPG mechanics relate to timing and bouncing and almost platforming. It's brilliant. It's a brilliant game.
I think this kind of example should have been. I wish this could have been like a renaissance moment where a lot of companies lent their IP out for another company to work on or collaboratively build. Because like I totally agree, it has so much Mario influence in it that works so well. But I also think this game's kind of that lightning in a bottle, that kind of amazing once in a lifetime kind of moment, because it isn't just Mario. There's a lot of that kind of Square ideas put in on their own twist. Like a lot of the enemies we've never seen in a Mario game before or after.
Yeah.
Or even just the Bowser humor, or like some of the weird characters like who's the weird guy that licks your tears and eats the cake? I don't know, like the guy with the black beard.
In the Cloud World. I can't remember his name. I think they changed all the names too.
Yeah, like I should know that, but Booster maybe.
Yeah.
But I just think that they put so many interesting things that were so not Mario, but they made it with Mario influence, that they turned it into, like you said, it's like, oh, like this is the real Mario world. We just saw a glimpse of it now. This is the expanded world of real things that we've never seen before, because we only saw the Mario scope of it. Now we're seeing the whole world scope of the Mario world. Like I think more companies should have that opportunity of just sharing their IP. Because, again, if we look at other times that Nintendo's lent out their IP, they've made some really awesome games, other companies working collaboratively with Nintendo. So I really wish that they kind of did that more.
Well, it's been a bit hit and miss. I mean, let's not pretend Mario and Sonic at the Olympics was good. Let's not pretend Mario Sports Mix was good. Let's not pretend Mario and
you're just naming sports games.
Well, Metroid Federation Force.
Okay, but I think Metroid Dread, Mercury Steam is second party, right? Third party?
They're third party, but you're right.
Okay.
Contracting.
Cadence of Hyrule. I don't know a list of all these games. I just wish that there was more opportunity for those things to happen.
Yeah, I agree. But I just don't know if like the modern world of games, it just seems like things are made on a much bigger corporate level now, where it's not like, I have a feeling with Mario RPG, it was like 30 designers in a room, and they just had this really fun, creative way of making this game, where now if they made a big Mario RPG and they had the budget for it, they would kind of it'd be, I don't know, like overproduced, over corporate, and ideas like having Mario go to Mallow's Cloud World or going to explore Gino's world, like it almost feels like Mario's visiting a whole other game. But it was perfectly balanced with, then Mario gets to go and see Bowser and gets to see some of the stuff that's related to Nintendo. So it was just such a cool game. I'm really excited for it to come out again in 2 weeks. So
less than 2 weeks.
Less than 2 weeks. So yeah, that's kind of my final big game. Quickly, Derek, before we wrap up here, is there any games you've been playing? New games?
I'll just list them all off, and then you tell me if you want to discuss any quickly. I've been playing Spider-Man 2, just finishing that up. I'm about 75% done. Diablo 4, since the new season started, I've gotten level 50 character, playing that a bit. Mario Wonder with my wife, and then Overcooked also with my wife.
Still haven't played F-Zero GX or 99, eh, Derek?
No, honestly, like I would be down to play it, but I don't even think I have Nintendo Online right now, and I just have so many other games I want to play that when I go down to play a game, I already have something in mind I'm going to play.
Yeah, true. I mean, also new Mario Kart tracks tomorrow, huh?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Why don't you tell me a little about Spider-Man 2, Derek? I want to hear about it. Like, I've heard it's good, but maybe overrated a bit.
Yeah, I don't know if it would be overrated. Like, I think it's the main story is like a 90s game. Like, I think the main story is on par with God of War, Ragnarok. Like, I think they're both just, there's amazing set pieces. There's really kind of a cool boss fights. The story is cool. It's streamlined in a good way. I would say the other parts of it, like the like side quests, are very similar to the first game. I think they're better now, but I wouldn't say it's like so much better. It's revolutionizing side quests, like kind of how Witcher 3, everyone says, like changed how we should see side quests, or Baldur's Gate 3. This game kind of keeps it the way the first one does. I will say the traversal is similar but better. But by a fair margin, but still similar. But there's some new moves and stuff that's fun. A lot of the new combat stuff is really, really fun. Like, I really enjoy the combat in this game more than the old one. But again, very similar. Yeah, like overall, like I would say, if you wanted more Spider-Man, this would be it. Like I would say, if Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, like Tears of the Kingdom, they have a lot of similarities, but Tears of the Kingdom had a lot of big changes too, especially with, you know, the things that you could do in like the Sky World and whatever. This game, I would say, is still a sequel in the same kind of vein, but not as big of jumps. Like, there's some really cool ideas there, but I wouldn't compare it to Tears of the Kingdom. Like,
so would you say that it's Game of the Year material or top 10 list for you material?
it's definitely top 10. I don't think it would be Game of the Year. Again, I would kind of. I think the best comparison, honestly, is God of War Ragnarok. So if you played God of War, the first one, and then played God of War Ragnarok, you could see how they're so similar. But the story of the second one's still really good, and there are new features, new combat stuff, new things happening that makes it interesting. But at the end of the day, like, kind of the 85% of those bones are very similar to the original. So that's what this is like too. So am I loving it? Yeah. Is it super fun? Do I like all the new features? Do I think it's a great game with a lot of polish and super engaging? Yes. But I don't think it's like, whoa, this is like they've changed. This is like such a step forward. It's amazing. Game of the year.
It is really interesting though how, I mean, it could be, someone should study how Tears of the Kingdom sequelize an open world and how Spider-Man and Assassin's Creed sequelize an open world, and just those differences, because clearly we and a lot of people feel like Tears of the Kingdom was a big significant sequel, and some of these other games are being well received but don't feel like that big significant sequel, you know.
I mean, in all fairness, though, there are a lot of people that do find the Spider-Man 2 sequel such a leap better. I don't personally, and there are people that also find Zelda Tears of the Kingdom not a big leap. So like you and I we're bigger Zelda people than we are Spider-Man people. So I think it's kind of in the eye of the beholder in that one.
But I think
like even God of War, right?
I think
like,
even if we're talking statistically though, when we get to that Game of the Year section of the year, like we'll see Tears of the Kingdom get better received, and it'll probably end up selling better and having better review scores. So I think you almost objectively, Tears of the Kingdom was a more well received sequel.
Totally. I'm just saying there are people that would argue the opposite.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I've been playing a lot of Mario Wonder, obviously, and still slowly chipping away at Pikmin 4. But
oh my god,
I know. But I've been playing this game called Jusant or Jusanti.
It's French, so it's Jusant.
Jusant. Okay, I didn't know
it means
French.
Climb. It means climb in French. So I think I actually told you about this. It's kind of funny. I might actually be in one of our older podcasts. Back when I used to teach at my old high school, one of my colleagues, his son works for Ubisoft Montreal, and they were working on this game. He told me that they were making a rock climbing game.
I didn't know this was Ubisoft.
Isn't it? Maybe let me double check. I thought it was.
It's DNTOND or whatever. Don't Nod or whatever it's called. It's an indie game. But maybe Ubisoft published, or maybe that's
maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah,
I thought there was a rock. Maybe I'm going crazy. Anyways, so I guess I got my wires crossed.
It's not like a rock climbing game in the sense like every single person at the climbing gym is going to be obsessed with it.
I know it's not like that.
Game. Yeah. It almost feels a little bit like No Way Home. You know, like where it's like a kind of a creative climb. But it's really cool. Like it's clearly indie though. I will say like the geometry in the world is like completely static, and like if you like try to jump up like on a little chair model, like you can get stuck on the chair. So it's like it's not Mario. You can't like it's not built that way. So you kind of got to stick to the path a little bit. But it's weird because it gives you the freedom to have exploration, but it's just a bit. I guess what I'm trying to say, it's a little bit janky, you know. It's not perfectly polished, but it's got some of the coolest climbing controls, and it's just starting to get challenging where you can really like place your what's it called when you lead climb and you place a new hook on the wall.
Like an anchor?
Yeah, and you get 5 anchors, so you got to almost strategically know when you're going to drop an anchor, and then like drop your rope, and then like swing and jump to the next spot. So it actually is quite engaging. And a beautiful game, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm probably about halfway. I'll probably complete it, but
I actually want to play it. It's on my list to play to like to put on my game of the year list, or if it makes it. So yeah, I definitely want to play it by the.
It's a great
January.
palate cleanse, yeah, and I
And
mean,
it's short.
yeah, and I'm gonna recommend again that you really just try F-099. Just try 3 races, like just try it. It's so cool, and even if you, I'm not saying you have to like get all into it, but just to know.
Yeah, I'm likely not going to, but I'll consider it.
Yeah, I mean, for one, it's free, and you're gonna have to pay for.
It's not free. Yeah.
Well, you're gonna have to pay for the online anyways if you want to play Mario Kart online again.
I don't ever play Mario Kart online.
Oh wow. Okay. Wow. Yeah, it's such an awesome game. Like it's there's nothing else like it, and it's the one game I can. There's not many games that I play that I can do such a short burst and still want to come back to it later, and still feel like I'm accomplishing something. I'm raising my power score and buying new shit. So it's like, it's just such a cool game that there's just nothing else like it. I would really recommend just giving it a try.
Okay.
Yeah, Derek, and so next time I guess we talk, we'll probably be talking about our first impressions of Mario RPG.
Yeah, that'll be good. I'm excited to see how that goes.
Yeah, and also to talk about our top 10 Switch list, which are top 10 Switch games. But I wanted to ask you before we get finished, our rules for our top 10 Switch list. Like, can we choose games like Mario Kart 8 and Metroid Prime Remastered?
I would say if the game was released on the Switch, it's a Switch game.
Okay, great. I just wasn't sure if like we wanted to disqualify games that were like cross-platform or something.
No, I think those are fine. The only ones I think would be a little silly is like, I'm going to say, let's say Resident Evil 7 was one of your favorite games on the Xbox of all time, but you didn't, and you played it on Xbox, but because it's out on the Switch, like I know you wouldn't do this, and neither would I, but I'm just saying, don't just like pick a game that's on a different system that you played, but it's because it's on the Switch.
Well, yes. Yeah. But also, I just feel weird because games like Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze and Mario Kart 8 are like my beloved all-time list. Same with Metroid Prime Remastered, but it's just
so here's what I'll say. Did you buy them on the Switch?
Yeah.
Did you play them to completion on the Switch?
Yeah.
Then I would say they're a Switch game. Like for me, Tropical Freeze is also one of my, like, I think it's the best 2D platformer ever. But I didn't get it on the Switch. I have it on the Wii U. I wouldn't consider that on my Switch roster. I wouldn't put that down for me because I don't have it as a Switch game. I never played it as a Switch game.
But for me, it's this weird thing where it's like I bought it on Wii U. I played it to completion on Wii U. It would have been on my Game of the Year list for 2013 for Wii U or 2014. And so it feels like weird. So I'm going to buy this game for Switch because I'm like, yeah, of course I want to just have it on my collection. And I ended up beating it again. But I just don't know if I would look back on my fond memories of the experience of that game as a Switch experience. Does that make sense?
Well, then I think you should rate that as so.
Okay,
it should be your top 10 Switch experiences.
Okay, because Mario Kart 8 I have played a lot on Switch, right? So that does feel a little more like a Switch game.
I think you should quantify your 10 based on your experience of you playing that game on the Switch.
Okay, cool. Well, I've already got a list going that I'm going to work on, so...
Okay.
Cool. Okay, Derek, well, This has been a great chat.
Yeah, good one.
I will, we'll chat next time about some Geno.
Yeah, coming to Smash 6.
Yep. All right. This is Peter Nintendo Bro signing out.
This is Derek. See you later.